It is Wednesday, August 28th, 2024. This is another edition of Baseball Today, presented to you by 5 Hour Energy. That is my man, Trevor Plouffe. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. Before we get going, I have a question for you. What makes you wear your hat regular way some days and backwards the other?
The vibe thing, Chris. It's just a vibe check. I look in the mirror. What is this outfit? How is it playing out today? Backwards hat type of day for me. I'm feeling a little frisky, so maybe that's the answer. When I'm feeling a little frisky,
Yeah.
I rock it backwards. When I'm feeling more professional, I go forward.
Love it. Maybe you've got a little pep in your step. Perhaps that's because of our friends over at 5 Hour Energy. They have shots that help you feel alert and energized. Every one of those bad boys is packed with vitamins and nutrients and about as much caffeine as your leading premium coffee. Here's what Plouffe really likes: zero sugar. So you'll drink it in seconds, you'll feel it in minutes, and it lasts for hours. They have it available in a wide range of great flavors across regular strength and extra strength. So we want you to head on over to 5hourenergy.com. Use that code JOHNBOY. You're going to save 20% off your first order. That is the number 5hourenergy.com, code JOHNBOY to save 20%. And don't forget about Thursday night is the time to get your 5 Hour Energy question of the weekend so we can use a special one on Friday's show and get everybody amped up. Tip of the cap. It's the reason I'm wearing this really cool Florida Marlins hat, because I very rarely get to do it because we don't talk about them much on the show. Tip of the cap to Griffin Conine. That's right. More and more kids of former major leaguers getting a chance to play. I saw it with Billy Wagner's kid. Here's a triple. That would be his first ever knock on the show, and Pops was there with the entire family. Jeff Conine still looks great, by the way. I just, whatever. He thought it was out, but it wasn't quite. Hit that tall right center field wall out there at Coors. I dig this sort of story, man.
I love it too. I mean, I almost cried yesterday at Teddy's doctor's appointment when he was like answering the questions, kind of like an adult, like saying like please and thank you. And I was so proud of him. I almost cried. I can't even imagine what I would do. Well, I actually know what I would do in that situation. I would have given one of these ones, like, the old like warning track
Curl.
power type
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, just to mess with them a little bit.
Sure. Jeff
But that's
Conine.
awesome. I am, we're both fathers, and we both are like,
Yeah.
once you become a father, you become so soft. Like I just cry all the time now.
That's good, though. That's good. The
Yeah,
people think it's a sign of weakness. No, I think it's great. Jeff Conine, by the way, 1,005 of his almost 2,000 career hits came as Mr. Marlin. Conine, by the way, was an incredible racquetball player. For people that
really?
didn't. Oh my God. Like world class racquetball player. I think that's still his thing.
Racket sports are my thing. Let's go. He does look good though.
Oh,
See it, let me tell you guys, for the young bucks out there, when you see an older guy in shape like that, watch out.
Yeah.
Especially on the courts and on the golf course. Watch out.
Good call. Good call. All right, start off with the Cubs. Believe it or not, excuse me, they are over 500 for the first time since May 28th. Second straight day they took it to the Pittsburgh Pirates, in part because Dansby Swanson was in the gift-giving mood. That's right. He went deep, and then this.
Happy birthday!
Aww.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, baby. It's your birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday to Mama, who was in the front row behind the Cubs dugout. Isn't that sweet?
That's awesome. Love that. Got our front row tickets too. Okay, Dansby, you're back.
Did your parents ever celebrate a birthday during the baseball season? If so, did you ever hit a homer for them?
So my dad's birthday is in February, and my mom's birthday is in April. No, it's the other way around. Mom's in February, dad's in April. So yeah, I know my dad had been out for his birthday before.
Did you ever go deep on the day?
Not that I can remember. April 12th.
Okay. We'll look that up.
1957.
We'll get our crack crew on that. As for the Cubs, though, I think the biggest part of that game was that Justin Steele actually got to pitch, because he gets checked out by the crew led by Vic Carapazza. Carapazza's the guy who came out and immediately ejected Edwin Diaz that led to an eventual 10-game suspension. Well, this time they look at Steele, they check out his arm, non-pitching arm, and they've got some sticky stuff. He says, just go wash it. That's fine. Here's Steele on how it went down.
You could probably see me shaking. I was scared. But yeah, they were saying you can't have rosin on your non-throwing arm is what they were saying to me. So I really didn't know that. So they told me to go wipe it off of my non-throwing arm or whatever. So, but yeah, I was definitely scared. I was like, not really doing anything wrong here. So I was scared to death, honestly.
What's your read on this?
I mean, I've had the same read the entire time, Chris. This whole thing is just kind of ridiculous. Now, everyone knows why it started. The pitchers took it too far. We're using crazy substances to gain a competitive advantage with their spin rate. And guys noticed it. It was all over the numbers. Okay. So most people in the game wanted that gone. Okay. And there was an easy way to do it. We track data in real time during these games. You know, if we could all we need to do is establish a baseline of numbers. And then if there was some sort of jump, that's when you would check these guys and figure some things out. That's all we wanted. Now we have this rule that, you know, there's really no framework for it except saying umpires have a discretionary, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. They have discretion whether to say that this is too sticky or it's allowable. And none of these guys, and they'll tell you this themselves, none of these guys are experts in this. It's just another thing that we've put on their plate that like really shouldn't be on their plate. So I think the rule is stupid. I think you just heard him say, I didn't even know I couldn't have rosin on my non-pitching arm. You could say, well, that's his fault for not knowing all the rules. Or you could say, guys don't know what the heck is going on anymore. Rosin is okay to have. Like we said that from the get-go. Rosin is fine. Okay. It's not going to jump your spin rate up enough to make a noticeable difference. Hitters want guys to have control of the ball. So I just think, and I'm not like faulting Vic for this. Like, you know, he can say Edwin Diaz it was more sticky with Edwin than it was with Justin Steele. But he's not an expert in this. So I just think there's flaws in the rule. And I believe that all we really need to do is establish a baseline for these guys, maybe check them on early in the season while we establish this baseline. And then after that, we don't need to check anymore. So we can look at the data, and if there's spikes, then you go at it. So I just think it's a flaw in the rule to me.
Yeah, it's confusing. And I understand, like, every Mets fan last night that's on social media was saying, oh, so our guy gets immediately ejected, but this guy gets to go to the bathroom and wash his hands. Like, I understand why you're pissed.
Me too.
I get it. At the same time, what you said is that there are different levels. Edwin Diaz, we did get to see a picture of his hand afterward, right? And it looked nasty. Like, if I would have shaken Edwin Diaz's hand, I would have said, before I do that, Edwin, do you mind like scrubbing that thing down?
And it was his pitching hand, I believe.
It was his pitching hand, and it looked nasty. So there are differences here. So the problem, I don't think that Vic Carapazza, certainly I could not find it. Did you see him speak to a pool reporter last night or not?
I didn't see it.
I didn't either. So this is the great mystery, is that something that's called by one of the umpires. It's not anybody in the league. It's one of the umpires. And then it kind of goes away. And if Vic Carapazza gets asked to do, an interview with a pool reporter, then we get a little bit of information from one pool reporter, and nothing is on camera. It's all the written word here. And so it's just screwed up. Like, if you were to read what transpired in the Edwin Diaz case and then how it goes down in Justin Steele, and you read it to the people in the league office, would they be like, yeah, no problem with it? Yeah, let's just go on to the next day and figure it out. Like, wouldn't you want it where it's all semi-uniform? And if it's not, then they have to explain the difference to us, because right now, all we're done is left guessing. And that is what Major League Baseball seems to major in, leaving us all frickin' confused.
I just want to let pitchers know that are watching this, you did this to yourself, though.
Yeah, but then, so one guy gets penalized 10 games. And by the way, that might be the 10 games that ends up costing the Mets a playoff spot.
I want to even go further on this, Chris. Not only did you bring this rule upon yourselves because you were cheating. Okay. Now, I don't think there's a lot of that going on anymore, but it was pretty rampant. Okay. You were cheating. And now you guys added or took away a free out because you didn't care about hitting enough. You just made a mockery of it. And now you got the universal DH. No, people still complain about that. They did that to themselves too. These pitchers, man, they have just absolutely. I can't stand them. I really can't.
Well, how about thanking them because it gave Shohei Ohtani probably more runway to be a $700
No, I
million
like it.
player.
They don't like it. They complain about it, but
They complain.
they're
They
the
do.
reason
Oh, yeah.
that
Well,
it
whatever.
happened because they would go like this.
That one I'm not going to follow you on. You didn't work hard enough on your pitching either, apparently, huh?
I'm sick of these pitchers, man.
Speaking of pitchers, let's move on to Dodgers pitching news. Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the AAA mound tonight. First rehab start, hasn't pitched in more than 2 months because of a tricep strain. Meanwhile, Tyler Glasnow apparently isn't making as much progress as the Dodgers had originally hoped. He's got elbow tendonitis. Manager Dave Roberts said the next few days would be very telling as to whether or not the right-hander would be really ready to go for an October run. Which of these stories is bigger?
Well, I would say if we're phrasing it like that, it's a Glasnow story because I'm assuming Yamamoto's healthy. He's going to be back. That's great. That's Dodgers need that. Glasnow taking a little bit longer, sounds scary, but reading kind of into it, it sounds like he's going to be okay. Like the MRI is clean and then they are just taking a little bit more time with it. So I don't think it's as drastic as that. At least I hope it's not. But if that is the case, Chris, where they're going to, it sounds like he's not going to go to a rehab assignment either. That's what they were saying. He's built up enough so he doesn't have to go on a rehab assignment. So as soon as he's ready to throw off the mound, he'll just come back to the big leagues. But they need him, man. Like they need all the starting pitching they can get. Yamamoto's going to come back. I love that. That's going to be great to see. It's going to be a great feeling for Dodgers fans. So I guess, in my opinion, the bigger news would be Glasnow if he does actually have a setback in his elbow, because we know the history with Tyler, and he looks so good this year. But I'm hoping that what I read is kind of more of the accurate situation here, where they're being careful with it. He will be back. There hasn't shown any structural damage. He just needs a little bit more time. I'm hoping that's what it is, Chris.
Yeah, I checked in with him when he just went right on the list, and he said, yeah, it's nothing big at all. But now I haven't bothered him at all. I want him to kind of just
Joe
feel
Ryan
better.
said that to me too, and now he's out.
Yeah, it really scares you with a guy who has battled injuries throughout his career. Maybe different ones to some degree, but he did have, obviously, Tommy John surgery a few years ago. He's already hit his all-time high in strikeouts and in innings pitched. And so this is kind of uncharted territory for him. And, it was the big question coming into the year with the entire staff was, what would this rotation look like come October? And we still don't entirely know. We just don't. I think let's say that Glasnow's not there. So it's Flaherty, Kershaw.
Who's starting
Gavin
game
Stone.
one is what I want to know.
It's a great question.
Is it Flaherty because he's got a little bit more dirt on his spikes than Gavin? Like, I think it's got to be between one of those two, right?
I would think so. I don't think that you would want to put Clayton Kershaw out there in game one. As crazy as that sounds.
I kind of would like that. If Dave Roberts was like, you know what? Okay, let's go.
And by the way, there's no guarantee that is going to be coming off of a bye, right? The NL West is getting close. Somebody's
What's
going
it
to have
at
to go,
right now? I didn't even look.
Somebody's going to have to go shirtless on this
3-3. You're winning right now.
Yeah, well, we've got 2.5 full weeks before somebody will end up losing their shirt. By the way, I'm about to interview Miguel Rojas for next week's Rose rotation. Do I bring up the fact that I might have to go shirtless if the Dodgers expand their lead? I think I do.
Yeah, bring it up to him and see what he says. I can't wait to see like those broad shoulders just out. I mean, that's going to be maybe one of our most viewed episodes all time. We're going to get the female demographic in here.
Yeah,
okay.
Absolutely. I could shave somebody's number in my back hair.
Oh my God.
Maybe I shave Plouffe 24 on the back.
I saw they did Mauer 7 at a game.
Yes.
So like a really good. I'm sure everyone remembers that.
That dude was the human sweater. That guy. And he was down the third base line, wasn't he?
It was like you could really see it. He had a lot of hair there.
He was like the late wrestler George the Animal Steele. It was just billows of nasty hair.
Hey, some people like that. Some people like that. Like, oh, there
it is. Oh my God.
God,
That is
it's worse than I
incredible.
remembered.
Dude. Oh my God. That is incredible. Please, if you're audio only, just come to our YouTube page and just click on that part. Dan always does a great job leaving the taking you to certain topics and the links. That's awesome. That is really that's gross. By the way, the Dodgers, they have had 8 starters alone in August, 17 different starting pitchers this year. Now, probably 1 or 2 of them bullpen game, but still, to compare that, Philadelphia's only used 9 different guys to start games this year. So you're talking about essentially half. It's a big difference between 2 teams that are vying for the top spot in the National League. Really big. All right, we got more stuff coming your way, but first, Trevor Plouffe, take it away.
Chris. It is football season. It's upon us. College football, NFL football, whatever you like. Maybe you like them both. Whether you're cheering on your alma mater or just love the thrill of college football, you're going to want to listen to this. Right now, all new customers who bet just $5 on anything will get $200 in bonus bets instantly with our partners at DraftKings. Stay in on the action. Use your $200 in bonus bets to bet anytime touchdowns on DraftKings. DraftKings is the place to bet touchdowns. And in college, there's just so many touchdowns. You can pretty much bet anybody. That's not betting advice. Just that's a thought in my head. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. New customers use promo code BASEBALL today, all one word, baseball today, and bet just $5 on any wager and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. That's promo code baseball today, only at the DraftKings Sportsbook.
Well done, sir. We continue on with some outfield news. Jason Heyward, DFA'd last week by the Los Angeles Dodgers, is signing with the Houston Astros. I don't know exactly what that means for Kyle Tucker, but perhaps we'll get into that momentarily. In the meantime, Pittsburgh Pirates are moving Oneil Cruz from shortstop, it sounds like, to center field. And he says, I'm going to go talk to Fernando Tatis about that. I haven't done it yet, but I am going to. Which of those outfield moves more piques your interest?
I love seeing Jason Heyward sign with the Astros, if we're being honest here. I think that's a good landing spot. They've had some injuries out there. I think and really their outfield is, especially with Tucker gone, and you don't really count Jordan out there. I guess you could, but I don't really count him out there. They've been, so at best. So, Heyward has a chance to go establish himself and get some playing time here. I like that for him because he wasn't necessarily having a horrible season out there in LA, but there's a roster crunch. I'll go with the Oneil Cruz to center field, though, just because I honestly think it makes sense. It's a big boy playing shortstop, and he can dazzle you with some plays, but the overall, metrics have not been like great for him. And I think that like size and the speed in particular, I think play better in the outfield. I just do. I think you're able to utilize that speed a little bit more. The length is going to be awesome to see. It was cool to see the range at shortstop, but think about him running a ball down in the gap or going and robbing a home run where nobody else can rob a homer because they can't reach there. I think that's going to be good for them. And, they have Brian Reynolds in left, and then De La Cruz in right, and then it's Oneil in center. So they kind of have their outfield set now. And I think getting those guys to play together and gel, I think is important. So I like this for Oneil Cruz. I know he said he was shocked with it, which is, I understand that, you're getting told you're not good enough at shortstop, which hurts. I've been there, big guy. But I think overall this will be good for his career. I'm very, very excited to see him rob some extra base hits from people.
Cruz said earlier this week through an interpreter, not good news, but not bad at the same time. There's some things you can't control as a player, and that's what the organization decided in that moment. I'm just going to go do my best. I thought that was a very mature line from him. If you haven't paid much attention to him this year, his OPS right around 800. He's going to have a 2020 season. He's developing. He still strikes out a ton. I don't know if that part of his game will ever go away. So all I can think about is that guy throws missiles across the diamond in the infield. you're like, holy smokes. I can only imagine the first baseman. I would be like, don't throw it so hard. So now I can't wait to see him unleash some throws from the outfield. Now, the Pirates have had some of the greatest arms in the history of this sport. They were all in right field, right? Obviously, Roberto Clemente is number one. Dave Parker, though, had a howitzer on his arm. Go look at the 2 throws he made in the 1979 All-Star game, including one to nail Brian Downing at the dish. Go spin it up on YouTube. Do yourselves a favor. And then more recently, within the last 25 years, Jose Guillen is another guy who had a great arm. I think he made one play, and I think he was still with the Pirates when he did it at Coors Field, where he literally picked the ball up at the wall and threw it, I think, all the way to third base on the fly. From the base of the wall, he had picked it up. So they have had some great arms, and that's what I'm looking forward to, is we're going to show at some point next year an Oneil Cruz throw, and we go, remember when he used to play shortstop? Man, what a silly idea that was.
I think so, too. I think it's going to be good for him.
I do, too. I think it's great, actually. And by the way, not only Tatis out there in San Diego, Jackson Merrill had never played outfield.
Everybody.
Right, everybody.
Everybody.
You show up as a shortstop in San Diego, we'll find a new position for you.
You know what, Chris, though? They say that to you, when you get into the minor leagues, a lot of the times they'll come up to you. At least, they did to me, and I didn't really believe them because I wanted to be a shortstop. But I remember early on, they said, you need to learn other positions because chances are when you get to the big leagues, you'll be playing a different position. And they were right. I played shortstop for, I don't know, freaking a little bit, but I ended up playing a different position. So I think you have to know that as a ball player that eventually things are going to change for you.
Who pushed you off shortstop? Was it J.J. Hardy?
No, I was a shortstop. I filled in for him a little bit. There was no one that really pushed me out. I pushed myself off.
Oh,
essentially. I'm okay saying that, Chris.
All right. Okay.
I found a home.
Yes, you did. All right, let's do this one. Phillies, they took care of the Astros second straight night. Aaron Nola, 7 shutout innings, 5-0 your final. Nick Castellanos, he hit his 18th homer of the year. Now, this is a guy that has moved up and down the lineup the entire season, and he was hitting 5th on Tuesday night. He gave this response as to whether it's important for him to stay in the middle of the lineup.
Knowing my style of hitting, which is always glorified batting practice, right? That I don't really have an approach. I look for the baseball and hit it as hard as I can. Having protection behind me usually forces the pitcher to throw to me more when there are people behind me. If I'm on, let's say, the cliff of the lineup where the power starts to drop off, now the approach is we don't have to throw as fast, right? That's hard for me because I don't think I've ever gone to the plate looking to walk.
Okay, for those of you, once again, audio only, he did the whole interview shirtless with a hat on. It's hilarious. It's great. As a former major leaguer, were you disgusted by what he said, or did you appreciate his honesty?
Oh, I think that people might hear that and say, what do you mean glorified batting practice? You don't have an approach. And I would tell you that there's a lot of hitters in the big leagues that think the exact same way, especially now with the amount of data that's thrown at you and different ways of approaching hitting that have come about, especially the older guys. I think a lot of them will tell you, look, I still go up there and I am see ball, hit ball. Now, are there times I got to go work on things in the cage mechanically? Yes. But as far as approach, there's a lot of guys that do that. And some of them are your favorite hitters. I had a real deal talk with a guy in Minnesota about what he was getting asked to do. And he's like, that's just not who I am. Never been that way. So I don't think the approach is far-fetched, and it makes sense if you think about it. A guy that's essentially calling himself, I'm a free swinger. I go up there looking to drive the ball. I'm looking right now, his walk percentage has never been higher than 7.9 in 2020 was his best walk percentage. That's below league average. He's never been a guy that walks, doesn't get on base. So what he's saying is if I'm in the middle of the lineup and I have protection, they have to throw me more strikes. And that allows me to, obviously, when you're getting more strikes to hit and you're a free swinger, things are going to be better for you if he's down the lineup. And like you said, if they're just, kind of pitching around, if you will, like making him chase, he's going to have a hard time. So like, I think it all makes sense. It sounds kind of weird to say it out loud, I guess, to some people, but I'm telling you, there is just a ton of guys up there, and they're not thinking along, like trying to figure out sequencing or, trying to do this and here's the ball, but the perceived velocity, you need to swing up here. And like, they don't do that. See ball, hit ball. It's still very much a prominent approach the guys take in the big leagues.
So he is a fascinating player and human being. I always have appreciated his honesty. I've interviewed him a couple times on Rose Rotation, obviously a bunch of other times on Intentional Talk. It wasn't just what he said. I think it's how he said it. Like, so matter-of-factly. Like, this is who I am. Like, either you like it or you don't like it, and I don't give an F about where you stand on the whole thing. This year, he has been a zero-WAR player, which is crazy, right? Now, obviously, that factors in his defense, which we know is not top of the line. He's not Mookie Betts out there in right field. But he's going to end up having a good, solid major league career. He's going to, as long as he remains healthy, which he has, he plays every day. His OPS hopefully stays around the high 700s. He's going to get over 300 homers for his career. Like, he's going to be a really good. Yeah, he's in like 220 something right now. Let me see here.
228. Holy shnikey.
Yeah, so he's only 32. He's still got a couple years left on that contract.
He got up really early. Okay.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, I remember him. We played against each other a lot. He was a third baseman. He always wore bad cleats.
Bad cleats?
Yeah, he's figured that out. The style's gotten better.
He also told us, I remember this on Rose Rotation. Go back and listen. His interviews were so interesting. He said, when I got up there at third base, I was having such a hard time. I was scared to death that they were going to hit me the ball.
Because he was on those veteran teams.
Yeah,
that was like, we're trying to win a World Series, and we got this young kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what he said. He said,
they even moved Miggy back there at one point, I believe, when he was on the team, or was that before? When did they move Miggy back to third base?
I think Miggy had been at third base for a while, and then they moved him to first base once the whole Prince thing went down.
Yeah, but then they moved him back
to third
base. They tried it in spring training. I think he took a ground ball off the face. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes, I do. I sure do. So the thing with Castellanos is that he can get hot at any point. We saw it last year in the playoffs. He hit 5 homers in 13 games. He can really get it going. And then there's times he just disappears.
He's going to end up making 150. I mean, he's $40 million coming to him in the next 2 years. He's already made 110. So he's going to make over 150 M's in his career. That's why you can speak matter-of-factly.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's what on that show Billions, don't they call that FU money? That's FU money.
Yeah. It's fun, though. Congrats to Jarren Duran. First major leaguer in history of 10 triples, 20 homers, 30 steals, 40 doubles in the same year. I can't believe that he's the first guy to ever do that. Is that really possible?
It's a lot of round numbers right there, Chris. I believe that's, if I'm doing my math correctly on the fly here, is that 70 extra base hits already? That's wild. He has to be leading the big leagues in extra base hits, I'd assume, unless Aaron Judge is.
Yeah, I would imagine Aaron Judge has more than.
I'm going to go look right now.
Well, yeah, let's look it up before we get to our last point.
Extra base hits. Judge, 83. Bobby Witt Jr., 77. Ohtani, 76. Jarren Duran, 75.
Still pretty special.
That's incredible, dude.
Well-rounded.
60 is like your benchmark for a good season.
Yeah, he's my oldest son Josh said he's like the modern day Grady Sizemore. I thought that was actually a pretty good call. I thought that was
pretty biceps.
Yeah,
in shape. Okay,
pretty good call. By the way, you can check out Grady Sizemore on the latest episode of the Rose Rotation. Bingo. Anyway, let's get back to the topic at hand. Kenley Jansen gave up a bomb to Dalton Varsho in the 9th inning last night in the Sox 6-3 win over the Jays. Guy catches it, throws it back on the field. We've seen it before. Then we've seen something we don't catch very often. So now Rafaela grabs the ball, picks it up. It's like, no, keep that damn thing. He throws it back out in the center field stands. And the guy out there is like, oh, sorry, my bad. Sorry about that. What'd you think of the return of serve?
I like it. He chucked that thing too. I mean, so my thought process, that didn't hit him, did it?
Hit who? Rafaela?
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, he just
I
like
don't
kind of
think
picked it
so.
up. I think what he's thinking is, hey man, they don't want a ball from the other team. They're supposed to throw it back. That's just how things go. But if I throw the ball up there, they'll keep it. It's a souvenir now.
Oh. So now that a Red Sox player was the last to touch it.
Kind of.
Oh.
But he threw that thing. Dang.
So yeah, at the end of the day, if you catch it on the rebound, if you're the second fan to touch it out there, do you describe it as the ball that Rafaela threw back to me,
Yes.
or the
Yes.
ball that Dalton Varsho hit out?
No, you don't reference that anymore. That's gone.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's like a footnote, a
Right.
citation, if you will.
What, did he get caught for speeding out there?
I don't know. Is that the wrong word? I'm a high school grad.
That's okay. You're a smart high school grad. Very, very smart. All right. Things are getting interesting. Got a lot of day baseball to talk about on Thursday's show. All sorts of stuff. That's, by the way, for people that are wondering, well, why didn't you talk about this or that, the other thing? Sometimes because by the time this episode comes out, the narrative will have changed. Go ahead.
Yeah, why didn't you talk about the Guardians coughing at first place in the AS Central? What happened?
Because
why didn't you talk about
because
that?
by the time this show comes out, then it might not be 100%.
Well, it is accurate right now.
I'll gladly say it, that the Guardians had a 10-game lead over the Royals, I believe, in late June. And now the Royals, even though they have the same record because they've won the season series from Cleveland, technically have first place.
Are you calling the Guardians the Mariners?
No, because I'll be honest. What did I tell you earlier in the year? And we're going to discuss
You've
this
been
on
scared the
Thursday's show.
entire year.
Right.
I'll give that to you.
Right. I said I didn't know exactly how the Guardians were winning between 65 and 70%.
It's not like my Twins are doing great either.
They're not.
Defensively.
But I also told you on Tuesday's show, I thought that from that point out that all three teams would at some point lead the division. And I still believe that.
I don't know, man.
I still believe it. It's not over. Like, we got 4.5 weeks left. You know how much shit changes in that time? It's going to be crazy over the next few weeks, and I cannot wait for one. Don't forget to get your 5-hour energy question of the weekend by Thursday night. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, the uber-talented Trevor Plouffe, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Thursday on Baseball Today, presented to you by 5-Hour Energy. Sorry, E5.